Warning, the review you are about to watch will contain spoilers wherever necessary for educational or entertaining purposes. Click away now if you don't wish to be spoiled.
Hello friends, I'm the Dyslexic Cosplayer, and today it's time we take a look at Blake 7. Today we're going to look at episode 5 of Blake 7, The Web. This is definitely by far, I think, one of the better early episodes, featuring some interesting concepts only let down by the fact that they're criminally underexplored in the actual episode. So let's get on with it. We basically begin the episode with Jenna informing Blake that they're experiencing a number of mechanical malfunctions. And I just want to say the nearly topless footage of Gareth Thompson here is, while appreciated, not strictly necessary. But it's also pretty clear that Callie's being mind-controlled. Oh, we're not specifically told that yet, but she's acting weird and she's psychic, so, it's a pretty good assumption she's probably being mind-controlled. And it seems that she's attempting to sabotage the Liberator, hence causing all the mechanical malfunctions, causing them to careen through space. But thanks to Avon, they're able to figure that out pretty quickly, and manage to subdue Callie with a minimal amount of damage after Jenna quite literally slaps the psychic crazy out of her. Eventually they're able to regain control of the ship to discover that they're basically in the middle of nowhere, and they've encountered some sort of unknown phenomena, similar to a space cobweb that's got a hold of the ship since it has a tensile strength stronger than anything the Liberator can break free of. And blasting it with the weaponry only causes it to regenerate after a few seconds. So trapped in a substance that regenerates faster than they can clear it, they have to come up with new options. That's when we get our second dose of psychic crazy for the episode, using Jenna as a mouthpiece. The people that brought them here claim that they're benevolent, and the only reason they forced the Liberator to come here was for reasons that they will explain in more detail once Blake comes down to the surface to negotiate. Callie, recovering remarkably well after being mind-controlled, suggests that these might be the Lost, a group of scientists from Aranon that left or were exiled. But Blake, being an idiot, decides to go down and try and talk to the possibly mad scientist from a psychic planet. We get a cameo of the capture ball from the prisoner. How to describe the prisoner? Well, it's basically, what if James Bond was in Twin Peaks? Blake ends up discovering the answer to the question of what happens when your Ewoks get all moldy, only for someone to emerge from the base and proceed to murder them. We're introduced to two of the locals, Navarra and Gila, who managed to patch up Blake from an injury he received previously. We learn that the creatures outside are referred to as decimals, and that apparently they've been becoming a larger and larger threat, part of why they forced Blake and the Liberator to come here. So Navarra and Gila explain to Blake why he's here. The base is being run off of power cells that they don't have a way to recharge, and unless they're recharged, they will be overwhelmed by the decimals and wiped out. So they offer Blake a trade. Give them new power cells and they'll clear a path through the web for him, otherwise they're all going to die slowly. But it's then a group of decimals attack the base as a distraction so that the rest can retrieve the body of the one that Navarro killed earlier. In spite of Navarra and Gila's complete confusion as to why the decimals would do something so meaningless for a dead body, Blake decides to go along with them since he really doesn't have any other choice. Made all the worse when he finds out from the crew of the Liberator that apparently a group of Federation pursuit ships are entering the area, and if they don't get out of there quick, they'll probably be caught. While waiting for the power cells, Blake finds out from Navarra and Gila exactly what they're doing here. They are in fact the descendants of the Lost who were exiled from Aranon for wanting to continue some incredibly unethical experiments. Like what? Oh, just little tiny things like trying to halt the aging process and create a subhuman species that can work as manual labor for you. And that explains what the decimals are outside. They're an escaped subspecies that has developed more sentient traits than they were originally intended to have. And they are not comfortable with being enslaved once again by Navarra or Gila. Or the actual entity that's running the show, since we discovered Navarra and Gila are both puppets for... Oh my goodness! Okay, but I'm not joking. This is the big bad of the whole episode. This is the Gestalt entity that the scientists built to house their brains when they figured out how to halt the aging process. So being unable to care for themselves, it became inevitable they would have to create Navara and Gila as alternative vehicles for them to use psychically. Kind of like what they did with Callie earlier. But for our last bit of exposition, we find out the web was a part of research they were doing into that halting the aging process thing that got away from them. Between that and the decimals escaping, I'm starting to think these scientists did not believe in lab containment protocols or anything. And speaking of which, that's what the power cells are going to be used for, to create a radiation wave designed to wipe out the new strain of decimals that have attained sentience. So we can now add genocide to their list of crimes. But before Blake can tell Avon not to teleport down with the power cells, he went and did that. So now it's a race to go try and save Avon before the decimals find him and murder him. Fortunately or unfortunately, they do find him and are able to get the power cells, but proceed to leave the door open so the incredibly dangerous life forms we've been worrying about the whole episode can start killing them. Fortunately, the specialized radiation beam to clear the web was set up before the radiation beam designed to kill the decimals, so the Liberator is able to escape while the decimals murder their abusers and kill the Gestalt entity, and Blake and his crew get away. That's basically the episode. So let's talk about what I liked about the episode, what I didn't like about the episode, and how it could be improved. Things that I liked. We get continuing and ongoing character development between Blake and Avon. While Blake is attempting to disarm one of the devices Callie set up to sabotage the Liberator, it ends up going off, and Avon, without thinking, risks his life to save Blake, even stating that it was something of a reflex action, not knowing why. This seems out of character for someone who doesn't have much concern for others, and will repeatedly say so. And for all that Avon's made it very clear he intends on stabbing Blake in the back, we get this exchange when Blake learns that Avon's teleported down to the planet's surface, not knowing of the danger.
Danger. Those power cells must be protected.
I don't give a damn about your power cells! There's a friend of mine out there!
Oh, just go on and kiss already, you fools. In fact, this seems to be the episode of true love, since it's here we get the moment that launched 1,000 ships. For context, while mind-controlled, she asked Avon where some of the vital systems for the ship were.
Those two there. Why do you want to know that?
I'm interested in your work.
With one look, you got me like a bug.
I'm not crying, you're crying. But yeah, I like the fact that we're getting some good characterization here. Also, for all that it's a little thing, I love this little bit when they try and first shoot their way through the cobweb.
Fire! Neutron flare shield has not been activated.
Which one's that?
Activate the neutron flare shield! Confirmed.
Yes, it's silly, I know, but I think it's a cute, diegetic way to explain some of how the ship works, and it's a great way of showing off that the crew really are still very much out of their depth. Likewise, arguably the main threat, the web, I think is a really cool idea. And while not totally original in sci-fi, it's done really well here, and I think it was a really cool idea that could have been expanded more. And that kind of brings me to the stuff about the episode that I think is criminally underutilized. The Lost. The episode spends so much time focusing on other things rather than this really cool, interesting concept of evil people from the same planet that Callie came from. Their motives, much like their introduction, are sort of hand-waved away, and frankly, I feel like there could have been a lot more room to explore their reasons for leaving and what effect it had on the people of Aranon. Likewise, this is literally the first episode since Callie has joined the team and she's already being made evil. This is such a terrible decision as a writer, in my opinion, because we don't actually have any characterization yet to know what's going on. Or is this even out of character for Callie? I'm just so disappointed with it. And also, we need to talk about the decimals. I just also want to briefly point out that it was not Brian Blessed that made me want to claw my own ears out. It was the sound effect for the decimals. I just want to make it clear that we hear a lot of this throughout the episode, so this is only a taste of a fragment, of a figment of how obnoxious it becomes by the end of the episode. Share in my pain, friends. Now just imagine that for 5 minutes straight and you'll know what my pain feels like. But enough complaining. Let's talk about how the episode could have been improved. Because I think there are some core ideas here that are really good, even if it's pretty clear that Terry was really falling behind on scripts and was not getting a chance to polish them as much as they really needed. So for brownie points, I'm going to try and do a revision of this episode using as much of the original script as possible. So instead of having Callie be brain-controlled, have the Liberator be pursued by pursuit ships until they break off because the pursuit ships know about the web and aren't brave enough to follow the Liberator into it. Have them then figure out how boned they are before Callie is the one that is contacted and used as a psychic mouthpiece. But at that point, have her be under the control of the evil telepaths. You could then have her teleport down to the planet to help Blake negotiate, and so that they can prevent her from telling them about the legend of the Lost. Speaking of which, let's give them some extra lore. Why not have it be the scientists that became known as the Lost were the ones that helped develop psychic powers for the Aranon, but they then grew overly complacent and tried to mind control the entire populace into being their slaves. There was an uprising, they were driven away, and that's why they're not only interested in building a new slave race, but also interested in the whole immortality thing, so that they can return home to the people they see as their children, the Aranon. And hey, they can even bring along a whole new slave species for them. You know, minus the whole ethical problems that come with that. And for good measure, what if the power cells aren't going to be used to eradicate them, but instead be used to re-enslave the Decimals? Forcing Blake into the dilemma of does he return a sentient group to slavery, or does he remain here and become forever trapped in a spider's web? And for extra measure, at that point, the title is not only referring to the literal web that he's entangled himself in, but the ethical web that he's now caught up in. Love being a genius! But I also recognize that I'm not trying to write 13 scripts in as many days. So I would say The Web is a pretty good episode for the early run of the show, but it does suffer from some pacing and underutilization of cool story elements. At any rate, that's my review. I hope you found it informative, educational, and above all, entertaining. What can we expect from our next outing? Seek, locate, destroy. Well, I can't even make up anything. I've got to fanboy. It's so good! I can't wait to talk to you all about it. I'll hope to see you then. Until next time, friends. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed the review almost as much as I enjoyed making it. Now, if you would like to show your support, by all means leave the video a like, maybe a comment. If you want to go really crazy, try hitting that bell icon down below so you can stay informed of all my new content. As you can see, I'm coming out with a bunch of new videos. I'm also going to be hopefully doing more cosplay tutorials. If you'd like to show some more support in a more substantial way, try heading on over to my Patreon or my Facebook. Both will be links down below.